Hey there, my Rotation 401 astrology subscribers. So I have a question. Like, this is the cutest blouse. I had steamed it and hung it in my closet. And there's a little, and then now I'm like, should I tie it up like this? You know? If I button it up, it doesn't quite make a cute bow. I'm not really sure. I didn't quite steam this one. We're gonna get into the moon dignity, which is for this is part 2 of the soulmate, twin flame, false twin, life partner video. Okay, so in order to have a life partnership, which is what we are all looking for, maybe not all of us, some people, maybe Aquarius or Sagittarius or Gemini moon. Oh, I didn't mention this in my other videos, but I'm going to be doing a moon series, especially for men's moons. So women, stick out for that. I mean, I'm doing the big 144, but I'm going to do specific moon videos in the meantime. So, okay. So when we're getting into moon compatibility, I had mentioned in the first soulmate twin flame video that a moon conjunction is, from what I see, usually a twin flame connection. Okay, but I want to elaborate on that because it's not always when I see a moon conjunction, and it's the universe or whatever has a funny way of showing me these things. So I say something definite like that, you know. All the other astrologers that I watch are like, don't say definite things like that, you know. But the truth of the matter is that they're right, because things, you know, evolve. So from that evolution, I had heard this before, but it didn't really I started to see more cases of it. So I want to update you guys. In Vedic astrology, and I may have mentioned this in the first video, I probably should have gone and watched it, but if you haven't seen the first video yet, then this will just expand upon that for you. In Vedic astrology, they say that the man's moon has to be the one underneath the woman's moon. Okay, so the man's moon needs to hold the lower degree. Now, in same-sex couples, I'm not quite as sure how it works. It could be just the masculine versus the feminine energy. The moon represents the mother, marriage partner, feminine energy, emotional nature, the mind, how you two think, how you get along, and it's really what you need compatibility with to live together. Okay, so I'm not sure if I discussed polarities in the first video, but with the polarities, to have moon compatibility, let's just say, first of all, just in general, to have moon compatibility, which shows us that you will have, and I mentioned this in the Celebrity Synastry series as well, to show that you will have a relationship that lasts longer than 10 to sometimes 20 years. Sometimes it can make it maybe 20 years if there's a Venus conjunct Mars, or maybe a Venus conjunct Venus and no deal breakers, you know, but most likely it's going to last about 10 years. And I've actually seen this with a couple of clients recently, and with a couple that I know that's coming up on like 8 or 9 years, and they're having some trouble. But what I saw with 2 of my clients was let's just say with one, he's like, she just up and left. I don't get it. We were dating for 8 years. And, you know, I never like to divulge too much of my clients' information, so I'm not going to say their signs or anything like that, but I'll just give you the time frames, because that's how I read my intuition. So if for those of you that have been around or have had readings from me before, you know that. So when there's no moon compatibility, he says we were together for 8 years, engaged for 1.5 years, and we're going on 10 years, and she just up and left. Look, they have no issues going on in the astrology, besides they do not have moon compatibility. And a lot of times I even see this, and here's a really important one, with in-sign conjunctions too, which is unfortunate. So is it called in sign or out of sign? I'm going to call it out of sign because that makes more sense. But it's say someone's moon is sitting at like 5 degrees Virgo and 28 degrees Leo. Okay, this is an out of sign conjunction. So one moon is in Virgo, one's in Leo, but they're at about 6 or 7 degree orb. Okay, so it's still, you're gonna feel it. You want it ideally to be within a 5 degree orb to really be like, yes, this is twin flame, yes, this is soulmate. But when it's with in an out of sign like that, even like up to about a 10-degree orb, that people are still going to feel a very strong emotional pull. You right? The moon is like the tides, and it has the pole and the magnetic rhythm, you know, so they're still going to feel very drawn to each other, but there's not going to be the understanding there. So it can be very confusing and conflicting, a lot like what I talk about with false twins, where we have Neptune conjunct Uranus, and you have this mental, like, Uranian unpredictable pole to each other in Neptune, which is spiritual, and this can send very mixed signals where it feels much more significant than it is. And it is significant in the fact that it's teaching you lessons. It will heighten usually at least one of the people's ESP and things like that. So it does help the spiritual evolution, and it helps you to awaken to possibly meet a real twin flame. But when we have the moons in an out of sign conjunction, a lot of times I will also see this Neptune conjunct Uranus. So it's just, even if the Neptune conjunct Uranus isn't there, which 9 times out of 10 indicates a false twin, and usually you won't have 2 of these kind of connections at the same time. Like, you might have lived in one city and you had this Neptune conjunct Uranus, and you move to another city and you find it with someone else. So you experience, it's almost like this new person in your new life is making up for the one that you released when you left the old life behind, kind of thing. So you're not really going to deal with that kind of connection with 2 people at the same time. But it's not very often that you find it, so it does feel very significant and unique. Like, it could be your soulmate or twin flame, but it's not. One of my favorite astrologists, I think it's Jules Mayberry, she says that, like, Plutonic and Neptunian, I think Neptune and Pluto can feel very like twin flame soulmate. So it can kind of do the same thing in my book. It can give you that false sense of this is the one, and you're dreaming about them and you're seeing signs, and it's not. It's kind of like you're awakening and they're helping you awaken, but it's not that they're the one. So when you have the out of sign conjunction, even without that, this is another indication to me that it's maybe a karmic type of thing, or it may be soulmate, where they came to come in your life for a time period, maybe 10 years, but they are not the one that you're ultimately looking for to live with happily ever after. And the kind of frustrating part about this for all of us is whether this person's actually holding you up from that because you're so focused on this person, or whether you have to go through being with this person and learn the lessons, the karmic lessons first. So the other really interesting thing is, and this is kind of a side note, is I think it's Sadhguru. He's an Indian, I think, guru. Him and I think another 1 or 2 of those gurus pop up too on the YouTube as it's playing through my lists. And he was just talking about how, you know, when it comes to love, there's hormones and chemicals, and this is very deceiving. So we have to reproduce as a species, is basically what he was saying. I was gonna write down, maybe I'll insert it and scroll across the title of that video so you can look it up. It was like, oh, now I want to go look at what it was. Okay, so it's called Love, a Chemical Hijack by Sadhguru Guru. I hope I'm saying his name right. It's Sudu, and then there's like an H, Guru. So he says, love, a chemical hijack. So, you know, he was saying, you know, as a species, chemicals, hormones, we have to reproduce, but a lot of times it's not necessarily with someone we love or with someone who's the right partner for us. And this was coming on right before I was getting ready to do these videos for today. So I definitely think that's a cool one to check out, and it kind of goes into this. You can marry someone and have children with someone that you don't have moon compatibility with, and yet hits 10 years, your kids are, you know, 7 years old, and now you're getting a divorce, and you never thought you would divorce. That's when the moons aren't compatible, and often when they're in an out of sign conjunction, because you really felt like this was the right partner for you. And even if you think you understand each other emotionally, consciously, the moon rules the mind, the subconscious as well. So you pull apart from each other, and it's kind of unexplainable. It's a very easy drifting, but usually one person leaves and the other one's kind of like, what happened, you know? Why is this person not so where did the attachment go? Well, there was no emotional bond. It was just chemical, hormone, physical, you know, environmentally constructed, you know, maybe socially constructed, right? Where the people around you accept this relationship, so you feel that it's right, you go forward with it. Maybe part of you's not sure, but you figure you'll never be sure, kind of thing. Something like that happens to most of us. But when I see couples, okay, that have been married for 25, 35, even 15 years, you know, but seem to be going strong, they have moon compatibility. And I'm pretty sure I've even heard of celebrity examples, but I'll find one of those one of these days to do in the series, because there's very few of those around, right, that last a while. So yeah, I mean, I don't see a lot of relationships that last a while, but when I do, they have moon compatibility. For example, my grandparents were married for 52.5 years, and he had an Aquarius moon and she had a Gemini moon. These are air moons. This means that their moons were trine. Trine is really an ideal. Conjunction is definitely twin flame, but we're going to talk a little more about that. The trine's a nice flow. Sextiles can work as well, but even if there's no deal breakers, any red flag aspects with this can still overcome a sextile moon compatibility after about 5 or 6 years too, kind of like a divorce aspect would. So when you have a trine or a conjunction, it's just going to be a lot easier to get over any red flags, any challenges. I do want to say, if you have deal breakers and you have moon compatibility, the deal breaker is ultimately going to get you too. So the only way for it to work is to not have any deal breakers and to have a moon trine or moon conjunction. That's the only way that a couple is going to make it past the 10-year mark. I might have seen it with a couple up to 20 years, but I'm going to say it was once, and it's very, very, very rare. So with that being said, the other important thing is who holds the lowest degree. Now, I might have talked about this in the first video, so you can, you know, skip to the end and see the outro or whatever. But whoever holds the lowest degree in a conjunction is kind of the most important, influential planet. Now, let me just cover what a conjunction is very quickly for those of you who don't know. So when we do synastry, we're taking one birth chart and we're overlaying the other one around it. So you take your birth chart is in the middle, okay? And if you don't have your birth times, then it's just going to be what sign the planet is falling into. So you won't be able to see the houses. That still sounds a little complex, but like, let's say you're Leo sun with an Aries moon, but you don't know your rising because you don't have your birth time. We can still see where your Jupiter is, where your Venus is, all of that, and we can see how those are aspecting the other person's planets. Okay, so if your moon is in the sign of, like I said, Gemini, it's going to be trine someone's moon in Aquarius. All right. And especially with male Gemini moons, just throw this in there, even though I'm going to make a whole video about it, they do much better with Aquarius, either sun or moon energy. Most of the time, it's very hard to get a Gemini moon male to commit to anyone at all. So when you have somehow, they can kind of commit to an Aquarius sun, but that Aquarius moon can really, now in my case, it was my grandmother that was the Gemini moon. The women are different, but anyways, with that being said, you have to look at this. And when you're in a conjunction, I said in the first video, this is twin flames. Not if it's an out of sign conjunction, not if it's like Leo and Virgo and they're really close together, not if it's Pisces and Aries moons and they're not as close together. That is not going to work out longer than 10 years. Now, the other thing too is I want to remind me, you guys, I'll try to remind myself about the moon opposition, because that's something I don't know if I discussed in the first video either. But for time's sake, if you have a moon conjunction in the man, all the way back, if the man's moon holds the lower degree, he can support the woman emotionally. Now this almost seems counterintuitive because the moon is the feminine, the mother, right, characteristics. But the only way that I see it work in these couples that last a long time is if the man's moon is underneath. When I see even in sign conjunction, the woman's moon being underneath, for the most part, there's a deal breaker. Isn't that interesting, you guys? So it could be that they're twin flames, but it's not gonna happen in this life, which I know I said that in the Are You Wasting Your Time video. Not gonna happen. If there's no Saturn, it's not gonna happen in this lifetime. But you know, Saturn is often seen as karmic as well. So if the woman's moon holds the lower degree in a moon conjunction, usually, I think every time I've seen that, there's a deal breaker, and I get a little flustered because I'm like, wait, I don't get it. I thought moon conjunction was twin flame. I was pretty sure of that. But, you know, this is where those variations come in, where astrologers are like, well, you can't say one thing for certain. But what I can say from all the data I've seen up until now is if the woman's moon holds the lowest degree, there's usually a deal breaker. So this is karmic. So what that means is emotionally in Vedic astrology is, let's say, the best way to do it is in the houses, but if you don't have the houses, so let's say the woman's moon is in the 8th house in Virgo, and the man's moon is in the 8th house in Virgo, and the woman's moon is at 5 degrees Virgo and the man's moon's at 8 degrees Virgo. This is a 3-degree difference, okay? Right? 8 minus 5 is 3. So that is a tight orb. But now the man, this is the Vedic astrology lesson, has to travel all the way around the wheel to get to the woman emotionally, right? And I think it's not so much the man supporting the woman, it's that men look forward, maybe. Let's just think of it that way for illustrative purposes, okay? It doesn't mean men are the only forward thinking emotionally, right? But maybe they're logical, so maybe they follow like a straight path. They have to go all the way around the wheel to get back to this woman. So even though they're right here, I don't like my hands away, even though they're right here, okay, so close to the woman, so similar to the woman, they have everything in common emotionally, he has to go all the way around to even see her emotions, okay? And this is where you see that deal breaker. This is where I don't think it's a twin flame. What I think it more is a false twin. And now, even for twin flames that are correct, which we'll touch on again, even though it's in the first video, they're not necessarily going to come together in this lifetime. But I think it's sort of how I said with Mars square Jupiter, that there's just this strong attraction, but it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be maybe ever, okay? It just is a very physical thing, that chemical thing. This is more, it's not meant to be in this lifetime, okay? It's just more, yeah, this isn't happening, okay? Maybe next lifetime, right? But yeah, I mean, that's my best way to explain it. Now, is that written in stone that that's what it means? Not necessarily, but just in the allegory of the other things that I know, that's how it fits best at this time. And if I come to different conclusions or evolution about that theory, I'll go ahead and make another video explaining that. But so right now, what we have is, for a twin flame union, the only way that it can possibly work in this lifetime, and then the odds are still very much stacked against it, is if the man's moon holds the lower degree, like they say in Vedic astrology, because then he's able to get right here to the woman and he can understand her, right? And not to stereotype or anything, but sometimes men feel like they have a hard time understanding women's emotions, right? They can feel like we're erratic or just not very clear. You know, the moon can be a little hazy, right? It comes and goes, it ebbs and flows, it dissolves. So this is like the only way a man can really see a woman's moon clearly. And in the trine, they don't really necessarily see it, but they can flow with it, right? That ebb and flow in the trine. Like I said, in the sextile, you have to have pretty much no red flags or deal breakers for it to work in the sextile for life. Really, you have a trine or conjunction with the man's degree being lower, it's gonna work for life. But if it's conjunction, even if the man's degree is lower, it's going to be very, very hard to come together. So I would recommend for most of the masses, what you're really looking for is a trine. You're looking for your moon trine their moon. So what this means, I'll just go over it really quickly, is if you're an Aries moon, you have a fire moon. So you want that trine, so conjunction, right, would be another Aries moon, which would be great. That could be your twin flame, depending on who holds the lower degree, right? Or whether it'll work in this life, it depends upon who holds the lowest degree. But, so if you meet, if you're an Aries moon, you meet an Aries moon, this is a twin flame, then you have to look at the other aspects to decide or figure out whether it's even going to be possible to come in this life. And even then, it's still very hard to come together because you two have such a higher calling, and a lot of people just aren't up to it, okay? They would rather settle with a karmic or something comfortable or more socially acceptable, right? Because twin flames come from very different backgrounds. Okay, so the second thing is that, so for Aries moon, the trine is going to be with a Sagittarius moon or a Leo moon. I'll put the link below for 0800 horoscope. So if you look in the Cafe one, you have to look up to see where the moons are. But if you match the glyphs, that's why you got to watch the Celebrity Synastry videos. But anyways, I can put the link below for 0800, and you can look up without the birth times or with them, whatever you got, each you and your person, and you can just see, okay, if you're an Aries moon, you want Leo or Sag. If you're a Leo moon, you want Sag or Aries. If you're a Sag moon, you want Leo or Aries moon. And you can just match them up that way. I'll go over the earth signs really quick. If you're a Taurus moon, your easiest life partner for life is going to have a Capricorn or a Virgo moon. Okay, if it's Virgo, you want Capricorn or Taurus moon. If it's Capricorn, you want a Taurus or a Virgo moon. Now remember, if you're a Capricorn moon and you find another Capricorn moon, that's even more significant, but it's going to be harder to get together, right? Because that's a twin flame thing. So then you might want to consult astrologists and say, hey, I'm a Capricorn moon, he's a Capricorn moon, I'm a Taurus moon, he's a Taurus moon, she, whatever. Tell me about the other aspects, right? Okay, anyways, and you can always get personal reading from me below to go over all those with you if you need a little bit more help dissecting them. But I'm teaching you guys how to do it yourselves, right? So that, long after I'm gone, there'll be hopefully still YouTube and you can do it. The other thing, okay, so I just want to go over each one for you guys just in case you don't, quite understand the elements. So we did fire elements, earth elements. Now we go into water. So if we start with Cancer, you're going to want to pair up with a Scorpio or a Pisces moon. If you're Pisces moon, you want a Scorpio or Cancer moon. If you're a Scorpio moon, you want Pisces or Cancer moon, okay? And now again, if it's the same moon as you, big deal, okay? So, but these are the ones where it's just like, hey, this is a great life partner for you. It's a soulmate, especially if you got some North Node contacts. This is definitely someone you can be with for life. But the crazy thing is unless I'm looking at a chart of a couple that's been together 20 plus years, 15 plus years, I'm not seeing moon compatibility. Even with couples that are doing all right, that have been together 4 or 5 years, I'm kind of like, I hate, those hesitations, listen to your inner voice, because, if you marry and have children after 5 years, it's still going to end in 10 years. So I don't know, but anyways, it's up to you to use your discretion. You don't have to take everything I say as gospel, but just giving you a heads up from the patterns that I see. So then the other element that we want to go ahead and go into would be, we did air. Okay, so if you are a Gemini moon, you want to get with a Libra or Aquarius moon. If you're an Aquarius moon, you want to get with a Libra or Gemini moon. If you're a Libra moon, you want to go with Gemini or Aquarius. So that is going to be your best bet. Now, again, if you have the same moon sign as them, you want to look at the orb. How close are the moons together? Who holds the lower degree, the male or the female? If you're a same-sex couple, you might want to consult astrologists too, or think about it. Who's the more masculine or feminine energy in the relationship? If you're both feminines, then it really doesn't matter who holds the lowest degree. It's going to be really nice. If you're both more masculine, you might want to look to the Mars and the Jupiters and the suns. So anyways, I hope that this helped. I think that about covers what I wanted to elaborate on. I just wanted to talk about the lowest degrees and the trines, and yeah, and the out of sign conjunctions. So I know I had made a list of all the positive aspects. One more thing that I need to touch on when it comes to moon compatibility is the oppositions, okay? So remember how I said I was listing to you all the trines and I was telling you about the degrees? Oppositions, now people are like, oh, some oppositions are good, and that's true with certain signs, like Venus opposition with Pisces and Virgo can actually work really, really nicely. But this is in the sign of the planet of Venus, okay? And very few planets can have a nice flow of energy with the opposition, all right? It does happen. Some people even say Sun opposite Venus can work well. I don't know if I agree with that yet. I'm still observing it. That's one I might not agree with, but I have a couple that I'm watching to see how that one plays out, because they don't really have any other deal breakers going on. But but when you have, you know, Venus in Virgo and Venus in Pisces, this can work very, very nicely, okay? The two can really complement each other. But when you have a moon in Pisces and a moon in Virgo, even if Venus is sitting with one of the moons, like for that to make sense, it would be like someone's moon is in Pisces and this person's moon's in Virgo, but this person's Venus is sitting with that moon in Pisces, and Venus moon conjunctions make for a really easy flow of relationship, especially friendship. If there's not other physical compatibility, right? No, like Venus or Mars compatibility or something like that. But when we have this moon opposition, it's a deceiving one, because you're still gonna get attached to each other, but it's gonna feel kind of uncomfortable. And usually there's other aspects involved, like with Saturn and stuff, kind of like when the woman's moon holds the lowest degree, not with the deal breakers though, more just like uncomfortable aspects, red flag aspects that are gonna wear on the couple over time. So when you have this moon opposition, I don't really like it. I don't really necessarily think that it keeps a couple together much longer than 5 or 6 years. Now remember the traditional 7-year itch, right? So most of the deal breakers I see with their divorce aspects, with the red flags wearing on a karmic or a soulmate relationship, anything that's keeping two people from being life partnerships usually is going to break a couple up around 5 or 6 years. There is the 10-year thing, which can be like no Saturn, or it can be just the moon incompatibility being the only problem. And then there's also the 2 to 4 month deal breakers, which could be like Sun opposition Pluto. Sometimes people have a hard time getting things started with that. Mercury opposition Sun. A couple can last a while with it, but it can make them break up after 2 months also, especially if Mercury goes retrograde or something. And then you also have Mars square Jupiter, the classic deal breaker. It usually breaks people up after 2 to 4 months. Some couples make it longer, but it's a very, very, very rocky road. So with that being said, the moon opposition, it's not a very comfortable relationship. It's one of those ones, especially if Saturn's involved and heavy, where you're kind of like, why am I stuck with this person? Like, yeah, they get me, but they don't really make me feel understood, you know, because when you're in an opposition, you're on the same spectrum, so you're dealing with the same axis. So like Virgo and Pisces is dealing with the access of like daily material life, getting your hands in the clay of life, in your health, in your body, in your physical realm, and Pisces is very much the non-physical realm. So like kind of like what you're sowing, those seeds you're planting in the 6th house of Virgo, you're reaping in the spiritual realm, you know, as above, so below. It almost could debate which one's above and below there, but you know, 12th house Pisces is very much what you're reaping in the spiritual realm off what you're sowing in the Virgo earthy realm, okay? So another access example of opposition will be Libra and Aries. Libra is about other people, the masses. Aries is about who you are, your identity, your body, the first house, okay? Very physical, the most physical sign. So when you have Libra, who's very intellectual, dealing with other people, and you have Aries, who's very much about the self and this solid physical body, okay, and being physical and working out and, you know, doing all that. Not saying Aries can't be intellectual. They probably have some of that in their chart somewhere with Gemini and Libra and all that, but you know, this is where it's like when you have the moons in this opposition, one person's moon is all about needing, if it's a Libra moon, they're all about needing reassurance from other people, feedback from other people, just being with other people. If it's an Aries moon, they need to be alone sometimes. They need time for self-reflection. They need to be away from other people. They need to find solitude to find their emotional peace. So when you put a Aries moon and a Libra moon together, they're like, okay, I understand that you need people. Oh, I understand you need to be alone sometimes because I'm always with people. So even I, Libra moon, need to be alone sometimes, right? And Aries is like, yeah, you know, I love my solitude and being alone, I need to recharge, but then I need to come out around other people too because I'm human too. So they're like, yeah, we get that spectrum. We can talk about emotions or relate about emotions on how much time we spend with other people versus ourselves, right? But they're still never quite gonna get that when Libra needs to go socialize and Aries is like, yeah, but I wanted us to spend some time, you know, withdrawn from the world, or I wanted us to go off on an adventure by ourselves and read books side by side. Libra's like, yeah, but can't we invite some friends? You know, it's just, it's like they're never gonna quite feel, they're like, yeah, I know you get me, but sometimes you don't behave in the way that makes me feel satisfied. So it's the same thing with going back to Virgo Pisces opposition. Virgos very much likes to be isolated, the hermit, right? Same as Aries moon, that solitude in a different kind of way. Like Aries might as action, so they might have to go work out or go do something to get that solitude, where Virgo might very much more curl up, Virgo moon, with a book and start studying everything on the planet. I'm a Virgo moon, you know, I'll just sit here for weeks and research things. And then a Pisces moon might be like, yeah, I get that, but you know, I like to, you know, daydream and imagine everything. So Pisces moon might really be able to talk to Virgo moon about things that other people can't even talk to Virgo moon about. And so Virgo moon's like, oh, Pisces moon really understands me. But at the end of the day, Pisces always going to have their head in the clouds when it comes to emotions, and Virgo's very down to earth. So they're going to be like, yeah, I know you understand when I'm worried about these practical 6th house matters and my emotions fluctuate based on it, but, and you get it, and we can philosophize, which is kind of more Jupiter, but it's still spiritual 12th house, right? But you don't ever, I don't feel like you tangibly relate to me. I don't feel like day in and day out when I need you with the little things, you know, you help sometimes, but it's like, you don't really get it, kind of. And Pisces moon might feel like, you know, I love how we relate, and I love feeling like I understand your things, Virgo, even though you think I don't, but I do, because I'm a Pisces moon and I understand everything, because I understand the bigger picture and the bigger realm. But I don't feel like, you know, you're lighthearted enough sometimes, or, you know, you worry too much, Virgo, because Virgo's a worrier, right? Especially in the emotional placement. You're always worrying, and it kind of drags me down. I'm in the 12th house floating around with my emotions, and I go to escape to fantasy to feel better, and you always bring me back down to reality, which kind of weighs heavy on me. So even though I understand why you do it, you know, here's the tricky thing about the moons, is the moons don't communicate like this. They're not having this dialogue. That's Mercury, okay? They're not having this dialogue, so it's all subconscious, right? Especially dealing with Scorpio, Pisces, 8th, 12th house, it's very subconscious, but the moon is subconscious too. So this is like a thing that most people can't even articulate. They don't even know it about each other until they live together, or until they're married, until they're really stuck together. So it's a more of like, if you can think of like the heart chakra speaking to one another. That's why after about 10 years, when there's no moon compatibility, it's just like this disconnect, and they can't even figure out how to get it back. One leaves and goes, yeah, I want to work it out, but I need my space. And the other one goes, well, okay, let me do anything depending on the other aspects to get you back, but why won't you come near me? And it's just time to separate, right? So moon oppositions are like this, but can be more frustrating because neither one of you is getting emotionally fulfilled. Not like you would with a trine or conjunction. And you're not getting enough of emotional turmoil like you would with a square or like a, you know, I think it's the quintiles or whatever. So you're not getting enough disruption, you know, to kind of be able to break away eventually and know that it's the best. You're just getting like pulled into this thing and opposite end. And so I would say watch out for moon oppositions unless you're already in heads deep, like, right? So that's like, if you're in Aries, your moon opposition's Libra and vice versa. If you're Taurus, your moon opposition's Scorpio and vice versa. If you are a Gemini, your moon opposition is going to be Sagittarius and vice versa. If you're Cancer, your moon opposition is Capricorn and vice versa. If you're Leo, your moon opposition is going to be Aquarius and vice versa. And if you are a Virgo, your moon opposition is going to be Pisces and vice versa. Now, Sun oppositions can work. Venus oppositions can work. Certain oppositions can work. Moon oppositions, they're good for friendship. They are, but they don't really work very well. So they're not like a conjunction or a trine or even a sextile. You know, sometimes the conjunctions in certain conjunctions can lean towards being good or bad. Here with the moon, the conjunction's actually the best, and the opposition leans towards good or bad. So, you know, the opposition and the conjunction can kind of, now I'm getting to advanced astrology, but you know, if you don't know it, then you can click off now. I'm done with everything else. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting how the opposition with one type of planet or scenario or combination can be sort of the middle ground, and the conjunction can be the best. And then in other scenarios, an opposition can be really bad and the conjunction can be the middle ground. You know, in the other scenarios, the conjunction's the best and the oppositions, you see. Anyways, all right. So I just had to add this on because I told you guys I was going to talk about moon opposition. Definitely after this video, going to be doing Venus square Uranus and Sun trine Uranus. Now, Sun trine Uranus is a very tricky one because it's a trine, so we think it's good. But I've seen couples that have all perfect aspects and Sun trine Uranus keeps them apart, and I've seen it more than once. So it's Uranus is just a very hard one to commit. You know, it doesn't like to commit. So we're gonna scour that a little bit more. Thinking I'm gonna do the Venus square Uranus next though. So stay tuned for those if you want to learn more about the aspects. And like I said, you can look at the link below for Cafe Astrology to plug in yours and see what aspects you have. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of my astrology videos, the Big 144 series, the Celebrity Synastry lives, and when I do some random tarot videos. And for those of you who didn't watch the other video I did, I'm not going to be doing the monthly tarot readings. So if you want to win my free personalized reading, make sure that you're subscribed and write in below, you know, what your sun sign is. Say I'm an Aries, I'm a Gemini, or whatever, and I'm gonna pick one of you out of the comments to do a monthly, right? So it's gonna be out of each video there'll be comments, and I'll pick, and as long as you're subscribed, just sign up for Psychics Gold, and the links below as well. That's where my personal readings are, and I will go ahead and offer a personal tarot reading since I'm not doing the general collectives. It was just taking a lot of energy out of me, and I have a lot of different things to juggle right now. So I really love doing them. I hope to get back to them soon. I was kind of beating myself up like, oh, it's just time management. I can do this. I can organize better. It wasn't quite working out like that. So thank you so much for joining me. Let me know if you have any questions or any clarifiers that you need about moon compatibility, because like a lot of astrologists say, it is the most important thing if you're looking for that person that you want to be with until death do you part. So thank you.